the first outline that Washington gives is on page 216, and it is, quote, appropriately respond to current and projected demographic changes, end quote. So in particular, in this section, Washington describes how the United States is going to be changing demographically over the next few decades in terms of percentage of people by race, percentage of people by ability to speak more than one language, percentage of immigrants, etc. And Washington particularly outlines some of the demographics of race in relation to faculty members and students in computing degrees. And in particular, when speaking of nationwide demographics of students and faculties in computing courses and degree programs, we need to have them align to the demographics of the United States. So the second reason for encouraging cultural competence in computing courses and undergraduate programs is to, quote, eliminate long-standing income disparities from diverse backgrounds, end quote. So in particular, Washington points out that computer science majors earn more money than other majors or people with high school degrees, which if we read between the lines, we can look at this and go, okay, this could be a way of helping elevate people out of poverty or low socioeconomic status. The next rationale that Washington mentions, also on the same page, 216, is, quote, improve technology development to account for differences, end quote. So in particular, Washington mentions that there's a lot of research that talks about biases in related to algorithms and such as facial recognition programs or even infrared sensors for hand washing, etc. Some of the things that we've talked about in previous episodes and even some of the upcoming episodes. And how having a diverse set of computer scientists in an organization or a company or in a school can help prevent some of those algorithmic biases. So the next rationale is specifically around how there are more jobs available right now than there are qualified people to actually fill them in relation to STEM and computer science in particular. So by broadening our scope of the typical students who kind of go into these programs, we might be able to help fill this gap. And the fifth rationale is, quote, improve retention of students and employees from marginalized groups, end quote. So there have been studies that have demonstrated that students in schools and even students in some organizations have left because they felt like they did not belong in the particular culture. So for example, I've had multiple colleagues and friends who have come to Arizona from other states, and they felt like the culture that they are used to and that they love and embody are not represented within the Southwest, in particular in the Phoenix area. So they have felt a little out of place, and some of them have actually left the Valley because of this. So having a more diverse set of cultures within the organization or the school or the company might help out with retention. And the final rationale is that it might result in a decrease in lawsuits related to discrimination complaints. Okay, so Washington concludes this section by basically saying, look, if we don't talk about this stuff in our undergraduate classes, then when they go into industry setting and start working as CS professionals, then they're likely not going to question some of the expectations and norms set by some of the more dominant cultures that exist within industry settings.
This excerpt of the CSK8 podcast is from episode number 42, which is titled, When Twice as Good Isn't Enough, The Case for Cultural Competence in Computing. You can listen to the full episode as well as hundreds more by simply searching for the CSK8 podcast on your favorite podcast app or by going to jaredoleary.com.